گلوی زین حدیث عاقبت سستر کنم خنده مستانه ای زین تلخی ناب شراب اشک دل فریاد مستانه به نامش برکنم یاد بادا یاد بادا یاد بادا ساقیا آن روی همچو هورا آن نگاه اغلل در احمق مشهور را
Good eve. Oh, it's quite dark, isn't it, actually? Sorry. I think when I set this up, it was a little bit lighter. Hold on, everybody. I do apologise. Not too much. Ah, that's what we want. There we go. That's a bit better, isn't it? I don't want to be too light. Good evening, everybody. Hi, Monica. How lovely to see you this evening. I'm just going to turn Kanya down a little bit. My name is Joanna Godwin-Seidl. Welcome to this evening's reading of 1001 Nights. I am going to start the evening with a reading of a poem once again. And once again, it is a love poem. And once again, it is from this beautiful book called The Faces of Love, which features mostly poetry and texts from Hafez and the poets of the Shiraz as well. And it was translated by Dick Davis. And it is, I think the cover is just beautiful. And the poetry in it is beautiful as well. And this is once again a poem by Jahan Melek Khatun, who existed around 1300 and something or other. That's how old this poetry is. And she was a colleague. She was a princess, actually, an Inuit princess. And she was a colleague of Hafez. And she wrote mostly love poetry. So she obviously had a lot of issues with men and love. So here we go. Your face is like a shining sun. Your stature's like a cypress tree that grows in paradise, and I'm your slave. I've no wish to be free. Be just to me, my love. From your bright day bestow one night on me. If you're unjust, be fearful of my groans, my wails of misery. My heart is in my mouth. Because of you, my soul's about to flee. So tell me, what makes you, my dear, so happy and so contrary? My lovely moon, my heart has borne for you such endless agony. Why must you brand my breast again with absence, with your leaving me? So that was a poem by Jahan. And now we are going to look again at the exalting tales of Tawaddud, who is teaching us all about the Quran, and she's been teaching us for a good week now, as her master Al-Husn spent and squandered all his inheritance, and she's told him to sell her to the Caliph, and to prove her worth, the Caliph has asked all his learned men to come and ask her about her own intelligence, and she is letting them know all the things that she knows about the Quran currently. So far, I think we've had about 3 learned men who've all had to run out of the Inquisition against her with their clothes off, because that is her demand, that if she answers all their questions correctly and then they can't answer one of hers, then they have to take their clothes off. So, on that note, we are now on the 449th night. And yes, that means we are almost halfway through the book, folks. For those of you who don't know, we started reading this in March 2020, my colleague Saman, Gerard and I. And we have been reading ever since with very little breaks. I think we had a break for Christmas and maybe a break another time. But otherwise, we've kind of been reading quite continuously, mostly 4 nights a week. Only recently, we've reduced it down to 2 nights because things have opened and Saman has been very busy with other work. So, let us continue. Now, when it was the 449th night, Shahrazad said, "It has reached me, O auspicious king, that when the damsel defeated the Coranist and took off his clothes and sent him away confused, then came forward the skilled physician and said to her, we are free of theology, and come now to physiology. Tell me, therefore, how is man made? How many veins, bones, and vertebrae are there in his body? Which is the first and chief vein, and why Adam was named Adam?" She replied, "Adam was called Adam because of his udmak, that is, the wheaten colour of his complexion, and also, it is said, because he was created of the adim of the earth, that is to say, of the surface soil. His breast was made of the earth, of the Kaaba, his head of earth from the east, and his legs of earth from the west. There were created for him 7 doors in his head, viz., the eyes, the ears, the nostrils, and the mouth, and 2 passages before and behind. The eyes were made the seat of the sight sense, the ears the seat of the hearing sense, the nostrils the seat of the smell sense, and the mouth the seat of the taste sense, and the tongue to utter what is in the heart of man. Now Adam was made of a compound of the 4 elements, which be water, earth, fire, and air. The yellow bile is the humour of fire, being hot, dry. The black bile, that of earth, being cold, dry. The phlegm, that of water, being cold, moist. And the blood, that of air, being hot, moist. There were made in man 360 veins, 249 bones, and 3 souls or spirits, the animal, the rational, and the natural, to each of which is allotted its proper function. Moreover, Allah made him a heart and spleen and lungs and 6 intestines and a liver and 2 kidneys and buttocks and brain and bones and skin and 5 senses, hearing, seeing, smell, taste, and touch. The heart he set on the left side of the breast and made the stomach the guide and governor thereof. He appointed the lungs for a fan to the heart and established the liver on the right side opposite thereto. Moreover, he made, besides this, the diaphragm and the viscera, and set up the bones of the breast, and latticed them with the ribs. How many ventricles are there in a man's head? 3, which contain 5 faculties, styled the intrinsic senses, to wit, common sense, imagination, the thinking faculty, perception, and memory. Describe to me the configuration of the bones. And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 450th night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the physicist said to her, 'Describe to me the configuration of the bones,' she said, 'Man's frame consists of 240 bones, which are divided into 3 parts: the head, the trunk, and the extremities. The head is divided into calvarium and face. The skull is constructed of 8 bones, and to it are attached the 4 ocellates of the ear. The face is furnished with an upper jaw of 11 bones and a lower jaw of 1, and to these are added the teeth, 32 in number, and the ossoids. The trunk is divided into spinal column, breast, and basin. The spinal column is made up of 24 bones, called fiqar, or vertebrae. The breast of the breastbone and the ribs, which are 24 in number, 12 on each side, and the basin of the hips, the sacrum, and the os soccigis. The extremities are divided into upper and lower, arms and legs. The arms are again divided firstly into shoulder, comprising shoulder blades and collarbone, secondly into the upper arm, which is 1 bone, thirdly into forearm, composed of 2 bones, the radius and the ulna, and fourthly into the hand, consisting of the wrist, the metacarpus of 5 and the fingers, which number 5, of 3 bones each, called the phalanges, except the thumb, which has but 2. The lower extremities are divided firstly into thigh, which is 1 bone, secondly into leg, composed of 3 bones, the tibia, the fibula, and the patella, and thirdly into the foot, divided like the hand into tarsus, metatarsus, and toes. And it is composed of 7 bones, ranged in 2 rows, 2 in one and 5 in the other, and the metatarsus is composed of 5 bones, and the toes number 5, each of 3 phalanges, except the big toe, which hath only 2. Which is the root of the veins? The aorta, from which they ramify, and they are many. None knoweth the tale of them, save he who created them. But I repeat, it is said that they number 360. Moreover, Allah hath appointed the tongue as interpreter for the thought, the eye to serve as lanterns, the nostrils to smell with, and the hands for prehensors. The liver is the seat of pity, the spleen of laughter, and the kidneys of craft. The lungs are ventilators, the stomach, the storehouse, and the heart, the prop and pillar of the body. When the heart is sound, the whole body is sound. When the heart is corrupt, the whole body is corrupt. What are the outward signs and symptoms evidencing disease in the members of the body, both external and internal? A physician, who is a man of understanding, looketh into the state of the body, and is guided by the feel of the hands according as they are firm or flabby, hot or cool, moist or dry. Internal disorders are indicated by external symptoms, such as yellowness of the white of the eyes, which denoteth jaundice, and bending of the back, which denoteth disease of the lungs. And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying, her permitted say. Let me just remind myself of how far this goes on. We'll read one more. Will that? Yes, we can do one more. Now, when it was the 451st night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the damsel had described to the doctor the outer signs and symptoms, quoth he, Thou hast replied aright. Now, what are the internal symptoms of disease? The science of the diagnosis of disease by internal symptoms is found upon 6 canons. The patient's actions, what is evacuated from his or her body, the nature of the pain and the site thereof, swelling, and the effluvia given off his person. How cometh hurt to the head? By the ingestion of food upon food, before the first be digested, and by fullness upon fullness. This it is what wasteth peoples. He who would live long, let him be early with the morning meal, and not late with the evening meal. Let him be sparing of commerce with women, and chary of such deploratory measures as cupping and bloodletting. And let him make of his belly 3 parts, 1 for food, 1 for drink, and the 3rd for air. For that a man's intestines are 18 spans in length, and it befitteth that he appoint 6 for meat, 6 for drink, and 6 for breath. If he walk, let him go gently. It would be wholesomer for him, and better for his body, and more in accordance with the saying of the Almighty. Walk not proudly on the earth. What are the symptoms of yellow bile, and what is to be feared therefrom? The symptoms are sallow complexion and bitter taste in the mouth with dryness, failure of the appetite, venereal and other, and rapid pulse, and the patient hath to fear high fever and delirium, and eruptions and jaundice and tumour and ulcers of the bowels, and excessive thirst. What are the symptoms of black bile, and what of the patient to fear from it, and it get the mastery of the body? The symptoms are false appetite, and great mental disquiet, and cark and care. And it behoveth that it be evacuated, else it will generate melancholia, and leprosy, and cancer, and disease of the spleen, and ulceration of the bowels. Into how many branches is the art of medicine divided? Into 2. The art of diagnosing diseases and that of restoring the diseased body to health. When is the drinking of medicines more efficacious than otherwise? When the sap runs in the wood, and the grape thickens in the cluster, and the 2 auspicious planets, Jupiter and Venus are in the ascendant. Then setteth in the proper season for drinking of drugs and doing away of disease. What time is it when, if a man drink water from a new vessel, the drink is sweeter and lighter or more digestible to him than at another time, and there ascendeth to him a pleasant fragrance and a penetrating? When he waiteth a while before eating, as quoth the poet, drink not upon thy food in haste, but wait a while, else thou with halter shalt thy frame to sickness lead, and patient bear a little thirst from food, then drink, and thus, O brother, haply thou shalt win thy need. What food is it that giveth not rise to ailments? That which is not eaten before but after hunger, and when it is eaten, the ribs are not filled with it, even as saith Jalinus or Gallan the physician, whoso will take in food, let him go slowly, and he shall not go wrongly. And to conclude with his saying, on whom be blessing and peace. The stomach is the house of disease, and diet is the head of healing. For the origin of all sickness is indigestion, and that is to say, corruption of the meat. And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. You know what I find very fascinating right now about that story, the ones of physiology, is if you imagine that these books were written along, these stories were written along, they were passed down from generations a long, long time ago. Some of them, of course, written as well, many years ago. And if the translations are correct, unfortunately, I cannot verify that. But if Richard Burton's translation is correct, how much the Persians knew, the ancient Persians knew about medicine that we didn't know until very recently, actually. If you think of the way medicine has developed in Western Europe, there was a lot that we didn't know for the longest time. And we got a lot of our knowledge actually initially from Persia, I believe, if the history books are correct, if you read the right ones. So I find that very, very fascinating. I'm off this evening. I will be back again, I hope, next Tuesday. It depends on what's going on in my life because things have opened up and we are quite busy, but watch out. We just change the dates a little bit sometimes at the moment, hence me reading tonight and not yesterday. And take care of yourselves. Many blessings from me. For those of you who have a Saturday and Sunday, which is a weekend, enjoy a very, very beautiful weekend. Otherwise, I wish you beautiful work days still. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. Thank you very much for listening in tonight. And it's good night from me. And have beautiful days over the next few days until we see each other next week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.